Now let's get to your free MLB picks for Sunday, August 16th. 15 games on the board today. We're splitting the slate into 2 videos, and this is part 1, covering the first 8. Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. The Doctor of Sports Picks puts out picks like this every day of the season. The rest of today's games are on the channel, so stick around to the end. The play of the day comes early, and it comes loud. Baltimore heading into Tampa Bay as an underdog on the money line at plus 127, and the model is putting an 11.8% edge on it, good for a 56% win probability. It's because Trevor Rogers taking the mound with a 4.21 ERA against Tampa Bay's arm, sitting all the way up at 5.33, is the kind of pitching mismatch that just doesn't get priced correctly into a plus money number. We've also got Toronto defending home turf against the Yankees with Dylan Cease on the bump, and Washington getting an extra day and a half of cushion against the Mets in Queens. We'll walk through the pitching, the lineups, and the situational factors behind each one of today's 8 games, and I'll leave you with that Baltimore play again as the top pick of the day at the end. 8 games, 8 picks, a mix of money lines and spreads. We open this afternoon down in St. Petersburg, where the Orioles and the Rays get things going at 12:15 Eastern. This is a day game, first pitch not far off, and it's the kind of early start where starting pitching tends to carry even more weight than usual, because bullpens haven't fully stretched out yet on either side. Starting pitching is exactly where this one gets decided. Trevor Rogers takes the ball for Baltimore with an ERA of 4.21 on the season. That's a perfectly respectable number on its own, but it looks a lot better once you put it next to what Tampa Bay is sending out today, a starter carrying an ERA of 5.33. That's better than a full run of separation, and in a sport where a single run swings win probability more than people realize, that's a real edge before a single pitch is thrown. Lineups, for what it's worth, are close enough that they basically cancel out. Baltimore is averaging 4.50 runs a game, Tampa Bay 4.57, so there's no meaningful offensive advantage either direction. This is a pitching story from top to bottom, and that's exactly why the model likes Baltimore here even on the road, even at plus money. The market is pricing Baltimore as the worst team today, and the pitching matchup says otherwise. Put it together, and you get an 11.8% model edge on Baltimore, with a win probability of 56% against a market number that implies less than that. That's about as clean a value gap as you'll find on the board today, and it's why this is our top play of the slate. Near double-digit gap between 2 starters, sitting inside a lineup matchup this level, is exactly the profile the model is designed to flag, because the market tends to anchor plus money numbers to a team's overall record rather than to what's actually happening on the mound that day. Baltimore isn't the better team on paper across the whole season, and that's fine. That's not what this pick is about. This pick is about who's pitching today, and today that answer is Baltimore, clearly. Pick Baltimore Orioles moneyline plus 127. Down in Atlanta, the Diamondbacks and Braves get going at 1:35 this afternoon. Another day game on a slate full of them today. Arizona is the play here, getting plus 114 on the money line as a road underdog. And once again, this is a starting pitching story first and foremost. Michael Soroka takes the mound for Arizona carrying an ERA of 2.92, which is genuinely excellent production out of a starter, and it stacks up against an Atlanta starter sitting at 4.03. That's better than a full run of separation in Arizona's favor, and it's the entire foundation of this pick. The model edge here is smaller than our top play, sitting at 2% with a win probability of 49%, so this isn't a game where the numbers are screaming at you the way Baltimore's are. It's a live moneyline dog getting extra plus money because the market is leaning on Atlanta's home split and overall record more than the pitching matchup in front of them today. When a starter with a sub-3 ERA takes the ball on the road, that alone is often enough to make a plus money number worth taking, even in a game this close to a coin flip. There isn't a strong offensive signal pulling this one in either direction, no lineup split given here that changes the picture. So this comes down almost entirely to who's on the mound. And on the mound, Arizona has the better arm by a wide margin today. It's a modest edge, but it's a real one, and it's the kind of value the model is built to find in a day game that most bettors will glance past on a 15-game slate. With no offensive edge given to lean on, and both win probabilities sitting close to a coin flip, this is a pick that lives or dies on the starter, and a sub-3 ERA arm on the road is worth respecting even when the record says the home team should be favored. Games like this one, early on a crowded Sunday, are where a plus money price on the better pitcher tends to get overlooked by the public in favor of the bigger home name. Pick Arizona Diamondbacks moneyline plus 114. Pittsburgh hosts Boston at 1:35 this afternoon, and this one flips the pitching-driven logic of the first 2 games on its head a little, because here it's the lineup and the home split doing the heavy lifting. Pirates are the play at plus 107 on the money line, getting plus money at home against a Red Sox club that's traveled into PNC Park. Start with the offense. Pittsburgh is putting up 5 even runs a game as a team, compared to 4.444 for Boston. That's a real gap, over half a run a game of separation, and it's happening in the building where Pittsburgh gets to play every night. Home field baseline matters in this sport more than people give it credit for. Everything from the extra half inning at the plate to the familiarity with the mound in the background. And when you stack that on top of an offense that's already outproducing its opponent by more than half a run a game, you get a live moneyline home dog that the market is underpricing. The model edge here is 1.7% with a win probability right at 50%, so this is very much a coin flip game on paper, but that's exactly the point. When a game is genuinely 50-50 and the market has one side sitting at plus money, that's value, especially when the fundamentals, the runs per game gap and the ballpark, both point the same direction. No standout starting pitching split given here to lean on, so this pick is built on the offense and the building rather than the arms, and that's a perfectly good foundation for a plus money home team. Coin flip games are exactly where a small structural edge, half a run of offense plus the comfort of home, tends to get mispriced because the market often needs a bigger, flashier signal before it moves a number off even money. Here, the signal is quiet but consistent, and it's enough. Pick. Pittsburgh Pirates money line plus 107. Up in Toronto, the Blue Jays host the Yankees at 1:37 this afternoon in one of the more entertaining pitching matchups on the board today. Toronto is the play at minus 118, and that price is doing a lot of work to reflect just how good Dylan Cease has been. He takes the mound with an ERA of 2.40, one of the better marks of any starter on today's slate, and it lines up against a Yankees starter sitting at 3.69. That's still a solid number on its own, but it's not in Cease's neighborhood, and roughly a run and a quarter of separation between two competent starters is a real edge. Layer home field on top of that. Toronto gets to play in front of its own crowd today on its own mound with all the small structural advantages that come with that, and combined with the better starter, it's enough to push the win probability to 57% even against a divisional rival that's going to draw plenty of respect from the market no matter who's pitching. Model edge sits at 2.5% here, which is modest, but modest edges on a minus money favorite in a good pitching matchup are exactly the kind of spot where the market tends to be efficient right up until a real starter quality gap like this one gets underpriced by a public leaning toward the bigger market team's name value. No offensive split is flagged here, so this remains a pitching and home field story from top to bottom, and both of those point toward Toronto today, when the better arm is also the home starter. That's about as tidy a combination as this sport offers, and it's why the win probability here comes in a full 7 points above a true coin flip even against a Yankees lineup that's going to get plenty of respect from the market regardless of who's on the mound for them. The pick. Toronto Blue Jays moneyline, minus 118. Detroit hosts Chicago's White Sox at 1:40 this afternoon, and this is a game where the bullpen gets to share top billing with the home crowd. The Tigers are the play at minus 106, a modest home favorite price that the model thinks should be shorter than the market has it. Start with the runs allowed column out of the pen. Detroit is running a bullpen mark of 3.86 runs allowed per game, compared to 4.44 for the White Sox. That's a meaningful gap in relief performance, well over half a run a game, and bullpen quality tends to show up most in the middle innings of close games. Exactly the kind of game a minus 106 price suggests we're looking at today. Stack that bullpen edge on top of home field, where Detroit gets the last at-bat and the comfort of its own ballpark, and you've got two real complementary advantages pointing the same direction. Neither one is enormous on its own, but together they add up to a 6% model edge and a 57% win probability, one of the more comfortable numbers on today's board even for a game price this close to even money. No standout starting pitching or lineup split given here, so this is a case where the bullpen depth chart and the ballpark are doing the convincing, and both of those favor the home team clearly enough that minus 106 looks like fair value rather than a number to fade. Relief performance is one of the more underappreciated inputs in a market that still leans heavily on starters and record, and a bullpen gap of this size, over half a run a game, tends to show up in exactly the type of close, low-scoring afternoon game a minus 106 line suggests we're getting today. Pick. Detroit Tigers money line, minus 106. Cleveland hosts San Diego at 1:40 this afternoon, and once again it's the bullpen and the home crowd carrying the case, though by a tighter margin than we just saw in Detroit. Guardians are the play at plus 102, getting plus money at home, which is a little unusual for a team getting a positive number in this analysis, but the gap here is narrower and the market's pricing reflects that. Cleveland's bullpen is allowing 4.20 runs a game, San Diego's 4.29, so there's a slight edge in relief performance, not a dramatic one, but a real one when you're picking between two sides this evenly matched. Add in the fact that Cleveland gets to play at home today, with the structural advantages that come with the extra at-bat and the familiar mound, and you've got two small edges pointing the same direction rather than one big one. Model edge here comes in at 4.7% with a win probability of 54%, solid value on a plus money team, especially with the market seemingly pricing this more as a true toss-up or even a slight Padres lean given San Diego's overall profile. When the bullpen number and the home split both nudge the same way, even gently, that's usually enough to flip a coin flip price into real value on the plus side. No starting pitching or offensive split is given here, so the case rests on the pen and the ballpark, both of which lean Cleveland today. It's not a blowout profile by any stretch, and nobody watching this game should expect one, but a plus money price on the side with the better bullpen and the better ballpark situation is the kind of quiet value that adds up across a long slate even when no single edge jumps off the page. Pick Cleveland Guardians moneyline plus 102. Washington, and the Mets get going at 140 this afternoon in Queens, and this is our first spread play of the video. The pick is Washington plus 1.5 at minus 143, and the case here is built almost entirely on the bats. Nationals are putting up 5.34 runs a game as a team, compared to 4.18 for the Mets, and that's a substantial gap, well over a run a game of separation on offense alone. That kind of runs per game advantage matters more on a run line than it does on a straight money line, because the question isn't just who wins, it's whether the loser keeps it within a run and a half. Offense scoring at a 5+ clip on a per game basis gives Washington real margin for error even in a game they ultimately lose outright, and that's exactly what a plus 1.5 number is built to capture. It only takes one big inning from a lineup that's already outproducing its opponent by over a run a game to cover that number comfortably. This model has this at a 2.8% edge with a win probability of 62% against the number, one of the higher win probabilities on today's board, which reflects just how much cushion that extra run and a half provides when paired with a real offensive gap this size. No starting pitching or bullpen split is flagged here, so this remains a pure offense versus the number play, and the offense clearly favors Washington today. Run and a quarter gap in scoring output is a significant edge on a spread that only asks for a single run and a half of cushion, and that gap between what the number requires and what the lineup is actually capable of producing is where the model finds its value on plays like this one. Thick. Washington Nationals plus 1.5, minus 143. We close out part 1 in Cincinnati, where the Marlins and Reds get going at 140 this afternoon, and this is the one game on today's board where the model edge actually comes in negative at minus 0.2%, with a win probability of 43% on Miami's minus 1.5 spread at plus 134. We're including it because the fact pattern is worth walking through even where the number itself doesn't clear the bar the way our other 7 plays do today. On paper, Miami has real things going for it. Yuri Perez takes the mound with an ERA of 3.39 against a Reds starter sitting at 4.86, a genuine pitching advantage. Lineup edge is there too, 4.38 runs a game for Miami compared to 4.11 for Cincinnati, and the bullpen split favors Miami as well, 4.27 runs allowed per game against 4.76 for the Reds. 3 real categories, all trending Miami's way. But asking a team to win by 2 runs is a much heavier lift than asking them to simply win, and even with pitching, lineup, and bullpen all trending the right direction, the size of that lift is enough to pull the number back to just about even, and slightly under it once you account for what it actually takes to cover a run and a half on the road. It's a good process case attached to a number that, for today, the model isn't willing to back at plus 134. It's worth including precisely because it's a reminder that a team can be right on 3 separate fronts, pitching, lineup, and bullpen, and still not clear the bar once the actual number being asked of them gets factored in. That's the difference between a good team and a good bet. And today, those 2 things point in slightly different directions in Cincinnati. Thick. Miami Marlins minus 1.5 plus 134. That does it for this one. Part 2 is coming right up with the rest of the card. Don't go anywhere.